Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to my channel, and especially welcome Larry Johnson from the United States of America. We've seen him before on this channel, so we don't need a major
Yeah.
introduction.
I, I'm a known quantity.
Yeah, exactly. Well, most of my colleagues in Sweden and some places in Europe as well follow the Judge channel, and of course Nemes and others where you sometimes appear. Well, the latest, if we start with the latest first, of course, the so-called peace conference in Saudi Arabia, capital of Riyadh, with five delegates, main delegates, I should say, three from the United States, including Secretary of State Rubio, and then from the Russian side, two, which is Secretary Lavrov, and some advisor that I didn't know of before, Yuri Ushakov.
Yeah, Ushakov, he's been a close confidant of Putin.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so he's he's you really say he speaks for Putin.
okay, yeah. It
But
seems
Lavrov does as well. Lavrov's not doing his own thing.
no. Well, I could say the thing about Witkoff, Waltz, and Rubio, I guess.
Well, yeah, again, within that trio, Witkoff has got the full confidence of Trump.
Hmm.
Witkoff's a golfing buddy of Trump. So, if nothing else, Trump knows if he cheats or doesn't on golf.
Okay.
So he's gonna listen to what between those three, if there comes a contentious issue and he's got to figure out who to listen to, he'll
Hmm.
listen to Witkoff over Rubio or Waltz.
Okay. Trump will. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's interesting because I didn't know that. What I understand, Witkoff is a businessman, basically.
Yeah, real estate guy up in New York, just like Trump.
Yeah.
Um, in fact, he suggests that Trump sort of mentored him early on in life. So, they've had a long time relationship.
Okay.
And it's look. Um, did, did you ever see the movie Pulp Fiction
Oh yeah.
with John Travolta and Samuel Jackson?
Yeah.
And towards the end of the movie, when Travolta has his finger on the trigger of a gun, blows the head of this kid in the back seat off, and they have to get the car cleaned up.
Yeah.
They call Mr. Wolf, and this guy is the ultimate fixer. He comes in to fix things. That's Witkoff. That I credit Alex Cristoforo for coming up with that analogy, but he's yeah, it's a great metaphor
Yeah.
because
Well, it's always
Witkoff is a fixer.
all right. Well, of course, what I picked up from the press conference or the press briefing from Riyadh was that the Americans say that they firstly, the purpose of this meeting is firstly to restore diplomatic normalcy in some way,
Yeah,
but saying that, of course, this is all dependent upon a lasting peace in Ukraine. And he said also a peace in Ukraine that acceptable to everyone. Okay, I reacted to that everyone because Zelensky is not there. None of the Europeans are there. It's Russia and it's the United States.
right.
So I don't know. What do you take? What do you make of it?
Well, anybody that's ever been on a blind date, the first date, that's what this was. Okay,
Yeah.
find out, do they drink too much? Do they talk too loud? Do they have poor taste? This was the get acquainted session,
Oh yeah.
and this is all about uh, getting relations between the United States and Russia back into, let's call it, something normal. I mean, for God's sake, during the entirety of the Cold War, when one crisis after another, the United States still kept open the diplomacy, and Russia still, and the Soviets still kept open the diplomacy. They didn't shut down, and they didn't start sanctioning each other. And the United States bears the largest share of blame for the sanctions. So this was a step towards normality. Now, I think the problem is the United States still does not understand, or they've refusing to take Russia's words seriously
Hmm.
with respect to what Russia's position is. Uh, Putin Putin made it very clear last November, November 24th, and I mean November in 2024. He said, "Hey, Ukraine's got to withdraw its troops from all four territories: Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson." And he says it's got to announce formally. Ukraine must formally renounce its intention to join NATO. Ukraine has to accept the loss of Crimea and the parts of Donbass. Ukraine's got to undergo demilitarization, which means drastic disarmament. Ukraine's got to agree to denazification, which means there are going to have to be some political changes in society that's going to excise these Banderites. And finally, Ukraine's got to legally guarantee the rights and interests of Russian-speaking citizens in the remaining parts of Ukraine. Those those aren't the ultimate objectives. Those are the preconditions that Russia has set. I don't see Russia backing off of that because they've been, you could make the case that Vladimir Putin has been the Charlie Brown of Russia, and the United States is Lucy. Anybody that's familiar with the cartoon Charlie Brown? Because in this, Lucy is always holding a football to say, "Come on, Charlie, kick it." And
Hmm.
every time he runs to kick it, she pulls the football away and he falls on his butt. Well, that's what's happened to Russia time after time in negotiations.
Hmm.
They've trusted the United
Charlie,
States.
let me just say, the Charlie Brown character is called something entirely different in Sweden and in each country of Europe. So I
Well,
don't
what's it
even,
called in Sweden?
I don't remember.
Oh,
I used to watch it when I was a kid or read it,
all
whatever.
right, man. You need to update your cultural knowledge here, boy.
I'll look it up. I'll look it up.
Yeah. So, you had the Minsk One and Minsk Two agreements,
Hmm.
and where both the Germans and the French have come out and admitted, yeah, that was just a pretext. We scammed Russia. So Putin, but it's not just Putin. Uh, Lavrov, the entire foreign ministry, Medvedev. Uh, this is Putin doesn't have the freedom and flexibility to just unilaterally go cut a deal, particularly one where he's going to move away from what he's put out as I would call these red lines. I don't see him backing away from those at all.
Uh,
That's what the West, that's what people like Rubio and Waltz have failed to grasp. I think Witkoff may be coming around to understand that. So we'll see.
yeah, that's interesting. But what happened in Munich, the security conference thing. Was your J.D. Vance's speech to the whole assembly aspired, or there's been a storm in Europe
Yeah.
from mainstream
Call
media about what he said.
yeah, calling the Europeans out for what they are.
Yeah,
I mean a bunch of damn authoritarian dictator hypocrites.
yeah.
Now, on the hypocrisy scale, you could also make that accusation of the United States and Vance,
Hmm.
because while decrying the crackdown on free speech throughout Europe, which was an absolute legitimate criticism, this
Hmm.
is correct.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Vance was ignoring the crackdown on free speech in the United States on those who protest the war in the genocide in Gaza. If you dare to call it genocide, you get attacked, you get shut down. So, United States hands are not clean on this front either. That's the nature of hypocrisy. However, this was a direct challenge to the status quo in Europe,
Hmm.
and they're going crazy. But and this is no offense to the people of Sweden and Norway and Germany, but you guys are irrelevant. I mean, you matter to your mother and father. You matter to your loved ones and friends. You matter within your country, but within the world events, you've been a problem.
Yeah.
You've been involved with years of colonial exploitation, the raping and pillaging of other countries. Sweden, not so much. But for God's sake, the United Kingdom, France, and Germany have been in the forefront of just horrific atrocities
Yeah.
for, a couple of centuries.
Well,
And so it's natural now that all of a sudden, what do you have?
mhm.
What does Europe bring to the table that makes it relevant?
Nothing.
Yeah, that's the point.
Hmm. They,
Just other
of
than
course,
pretending.
went to Paris yesterday, and Sweden wasn't allowed there. We sent a Danish representative.
That they wouldn't let the Swedes attend?
Nope. We have
Oh, yeah.
there is something
Yeah.
called the Nordic Baltic Eight, which includes the three Baltic Chihuahua states, Sweden, Denmark, and I guess Norway in somewhat. And so the chair this year for this Nordic Baltic thingy is Mette Frederiksen out of Denmark. So she was sent
Hmm.
down to Macron. And Zelensky was not invited. He was not there. But Mark Rutte and Ursula von der Leyen and all the other unelected terrorists were there, of
Yeah.
course.
Remember, Ursula's best name is Ursula, fond of lying.
There's a lot of nicknames for her in various languages here, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, but that reaction. But another interesting thing was at the Munich conference. This just leaked out. I guess she's Secretary of State, Annalena Baerbock, out of
Hmm.
Germany from the Green Party.
Right,
She
right.
leaked that a thing that was not supposed to be known until after the election in Germany on Sunday, the 23rd this month.
You mean
That
the $700 billion?
the 700 billion euros.
Euros, okay.
Well, it's about the same exchange rate,
Well, now it is. It used to be that would have been a lot more money in dollars.
right?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
This
figured out that if you take the 512 some million citizens in the European Union and remove those who not pay taxes, just include those who pay taxes. This is equivalent to $3,000 or 3,000 euros per capita, which is
mhm.
suggesting. And those money doesn't exist. It's just because they've been spending it all already.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they're playing like a board game, Monopoly. It's just fake money. They get the draw from the bank, but oh, we're out of money. Give me some more. So I can keep playing.
Yeah, or they take the
Yeah, but
European.
it's not a game. This is what's so shocking in this is, and I still struggle to understand it. The animus, the deep-seated animus towards Russia.
Mhm.
Now, it'd be one thing if we were in 1975 and it was the Soviet Union and you had this Politburo filled with these decrepit guys who'd been at war in the World War II, the Brezhnevs and the Andropovs and you go down the list, and the stores in the Soviet Union were empty, and the oppression, people being hauled off to the gulag, except, and the perception of communist subversion everywhere. Okay, I could understand the animus if that was Russia today, but that's not Russia today by any stretch.
No.
Russia today is really it's a conservative Christian country, predominantly Christian. Uh, they are promote what we call family values in a very almost not an extreme form, but they're very, dedicated to that. Um, and they've not been out meddling in the affairs of other countries,
Hmm.
even though that's the claim of the West.
Hmm.
And yet there's this hatred of them, just visceral hatred. And the only way the only explanation I've really been able to come up with is when Vladimir Putin called in the oligarchs, and this was around 2000, 2001, somewhere in that time frame. I've got to go back and look up the specific
Yeah,
date.
yeah.
And basically read them the Riot Act and said, you're going to stop raping Russia with foreign oligarchs, these foreign capitalists who are coming in trying to eat up every valuable resource in Russia, take control of it. He took control of that and forced them to, basically invest their money in Russia. And then he stayed out of foreign wars until, Russia was attacked by Georgia, and they went in and crushed Georgia in a period of 2 weeks. But other than that, and then in 2014, 15, they provided military support to Syria,
Hmm.
again, in response to the U.S. coup in Maidan. So, Russia was always reacting to things the West was doing. It was not being proactive, taking its own measures. And in the course of that, we're talking now 24 years, Russia has been reborn. I mean, it's beautiful, it's wealthy, it's clean, it's safe, which you can't say for a lot of cities in, Europe,
Yes.
which are dirty and dangerous.
Hmm.
Maybe that's why they hate him, because he's shown a way that doesn't require being militarized. And frankly, there was only because of the launching of the special military operation that Russia's war machine has been reignited, turned back on. Because it was sort of in the parked in the garage, shall we say,
Hmm.
not being taken out for a regular drive. So they had to, it'd been in the garage for quite a while. They had to take it out, clean it up, dust it off, vacuum it out, put in the fuel, tune it up, and now all of a sudden Russia's cranking on all cylinders, and the West has no answer for it.
Yeah. There are some interesting facts about that. I don't want to get into it right now, but most of the major industries in Russia before 2014 were re-engineered for civilian uses.
Mm-hmm.
But they have basically the same machine shops, so it was quick
Right.
to just switch to military production. That didn't take long. Of course, Germany is on the downfall economically. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the elections. The Alternative for Deutschland is probably going to grow significantly. Probably
Mm-hmm.
not get their own mandate, probably not,
Right.
but probably one other political party could make a coalition with them so they come to power anyway. That's what it looks like. And this is panic in Germany. They've tried several times to exclude Alternative für Deutschland from the elections and things like that. But I was going to get to the only two industries left, except some shattered car manufacturers in Germany. They don't have the electricity, they don't have the energy anymore, mainly because of Nord
Yeah.
Stream, and they closed all their nuclear power plants, is Rheinmetall, who makes what? Weapons. And
Yeah. Yeah.
ThyssenKrupp also makes weapons. Those two industries are thriving, but their stocks went down after there was rumored about peace talks in
Mm-hmm.
Ukraine, for Ukraine.
Yeah.
But then after the Paris meeting, the stocks went through the roof again on Rheinmetall, on Thyssen, and on the Swedish warmongers, manufacturers like Saab and Kockums and Bofors, all of them at 11% up. on the notion that the Europeans might be able to stop peace. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, again, and I think that's a bizarre fantasy.
Mm.
You know, Ukraine, Europe does not have the military power,
No, not at all.
and the economic situation is continuing to deteriorate in the UK and Germany and in France. The problem Europe faces is there is no mandate for anybody. It is so politically fractured that, when you're talking about AfD, a win for AfD means they get what, 28% of the vote, 29% of the vote.
Somewhere like that, yeah.
Yeah. So that's barely a quarter of the vote. And the other 75% you could say are against, but pick any party. Every one of those parties, you can come in around 25 to 30%.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no mandate. And that's what differentiates Europe from the United States. Because you've got Donald Trump with a clear mandate, and man, at least domestically, he's making good use of it.
Exactly. And when the situation in Germany and Sweden is a similar thing, Sweden's got eight different political parties, with the largest ones being the communists, the Social Democrats, they call themselves, but they're sort of a
Right.
pseudo-communist, capitalist, really bad party that destroyed Sweden once, and they try to do it again. But it's like you say, there's no mandate. We have coalition governments all over, and they agree before the elections on a program, as they call it. And then after the elections, when they can form a coalition, they sort of open this secret package and said, this is what's in it, not what we said before the election. Now it's after the election, and we'll do what you didn't want us to do. So it's corrupt, and it's undemocratic to the max in Europe. And
Yeah.
so it's interesting hearing from you, being an American, that you have such insights over this. That's why I really like picking your mind a little bit. So I don't know we've been on the air, recording now for about 25 minutes. So what do you think will come of all this? Where are we in Europe or Ukraine or in Russia, USA, all of this? Where are we in a few months? What do you think?
Well, yeah, Europe is going to be in an even worse economic situation. It's going to be in crisis, and that's going to be accompanied with political crises and upheavals. The Trump is on a precipice. This, people say, okay, Captain Obvious. Yeah, it can go both. It can go a couple of different directions, one good, one bad. The Russians are not going to back off of their demands. Russia doesn't need to negotiate a peace. Russia would like to negotiate a peace, but not a peace in Ukraine, but a broader agreement that would encompass the United States and Europe if possible.
Mm-hmm.
But Europe right now talking about going to war with Russia, and Russia's got to take that seriously.
Oh yeah,
and God forbid that the Europeans are stupid enough to try to do it. They will be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's some value in Europe being destroyed. Maybe it's out of being destroyed that it's going to come to its senses and rebuild.
Maybe.
Now, yeah, that's one way to look at it.
But another thing, I mean, Putin has been very clear for a long, long time that if NATO moves in any form to the territory of Ukraine in this case, that's an aggression to him and cannot be tolerated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, candidly, if Russia did if Russia did to the United States what the United States has been doing to Russia, using a proxy like Mexico or whatever, we'd be at war with Russia.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we would view that as an attack. The Russians have been entirely, if you want to have any criticism, they've been entirely too patient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I learned an expression when I lived in Central America or in Argentina, I guess it was. That's South America. That basically the translation is um, they confuse being good with being a fool. In other words, if you behave yourself in a just, honorable manner, people interpret that as a sign of weakness
Hmm.
and say, "Oh, we can take advantage of this guy." They don't realize that you're just being a good person. And then when they cross you, and all of a sudden they find out that you can turn around and destroy them, then they're shocked.
Yeah.
But you know, confusing being good with being a fool, and that's what I think Putin's patience has encouraged.
Hmm.
That the West continues to underestimate him,
Hmm.
and still to this day, the narratives are out there about Russia suffering, its economy's in tatters,
Yeah.
they're suffering massive casualties, they're losing the war, they're weak, and then at the same time, oh my God, if we don't stop Russia, they're going to take over Europe. Well, if they're losing the war in the week, how the hell are they going to take over Europe? Come on, guys, figure out what your damn story is and get it straight. Just stick with one, okay? Don't keep pushing out two opposite versions. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Hurry up. You know, Russia has all the time in the world. They don't need uh, to rush anything right now. I'm sure they're going to try to get the best outcome of any settlement that we see on maybe on the horizon. But it seems like the United States is in a hurry to get some
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
a settlement. Europe, of course, they don't know what they're talking about. I mean, listen to the Swedish foreign minister. It's a woman, Maria Malmer Stenergard. The other day, she said, "Well, if there is a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, Sweden will be happy to send a peacekeeping force." Does she know that we are newly members of NATO? Yes,
yeah.
she knows
Totally,
that, but she don't know what it means.
she didn't get the memo.
No,
you you
she
know,
was out to lunch that day.
if I was going to pick a theme song for Vladimir Putin,
Hmm.
it'd be the Rolling Stones. Time is on my side. You know,
Yeah,
all Putin's got to do is just sing. Time is on my side.
and we got to hear Larry singing as well, so
Yeah, off tune, off tune.
not too bad. All right. Well, thank you very much for your wonderful insights, and I really appreciate you coming on. So, uh,
Always a pleasure to chat with you, Hagen.
thank you so much, and I'll see you in the future, I hope.
All right, man. You behave.
I'll
Stay
try.
warm up there. Okay. Well, bye bye.
Bye.